1. The calm before the storm. I always thought I knew my life. My morning started with the same routine: coffee brewing, toast crisping, the hum of the kettle, and her soft voice in the kitchen. The smell of cinnamon from the pastries she baked reminded me of autumn mornings from years ago. I saw stability in those moments, a comforting rhythm that made the world outside our apartment seem distant and chaotic. I loved her in that silent, unquestioning way, perhaps too unquestioning. I didn't notice the subtle shift in the lines of her smile, the way she occasionally checked her phone with a quick glance, almost nervously. I told myself I was imagining things, that my mind was playing tricks on me. But deep down, there was always that little voice whispering, maybe I'm not paying enough attention. 2. The past we built. We met in college, under the warm glow of the library lights, reaching for the same philosophy book. I remember thinking, this is it. She laughed and something inside me softened, a rare warmth that didn't need words. Our first apartment was tiny, walls a soft yellow, with posters we couldn't quite agree on hanging crookedly. We argued over dinner, laughed at silly mistakes, and made promises in whispers that we swore would last forever. For years, our love was a series of small rituals: coffee on Sunday mornings, quiet dinners, and late-night drives when we needed to feel alive. Those rituals became our armor, our excuse for ignoring the mundane cracks forming beneath the surface. 3. Subtle changes. At first, it was little things. She started leaving her phone face down on the table, muttering about battery issues. I noticed her answering texts quickly and hiding the screen when I walked by. Our conversations grew shorter, her laughter less genuine. I felt a tug of unease in my chest but suppressed it, convincing myself it was stress, work, or exhaustion. I even told myself I'd be overreacting to normal changes in a long-term relationship. The thought of confronting her seemed both trivial and catastrophic at the same time. Trivial because it could be nothing. Catastrophic because, what if it wasn't? 4. The first sign. I remember that Tuesday distinctly. She left her laptop open while stepping into the bathroom. Curiosity and something darker overcame me. An email preview flashed on the screen, not meant for me, not hers. My fingers shook as I read the words. Names I had never expected, details of meetings and secret moments. A laughter that wasn't mine. My body froze. My heart pounded against my ribs as if trying to escape, and a cold sweat dripped down my back. The room spun, and I wanted to scream, to run, to disappear. Instead, I sat there, numb, staring at the betrayal laid bare in front of me. 5. Denial. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a joke. Maybe I misunderstood the context. Maybe she was testing me. I clung to any shred of explanation that could preserve the life I thought I had. I replayed our memories, clinging to the warmth of old hugs, kisses, and whispered promises. My body ached from tension. My mind was a battleground of anger, fear, and disbelief. I felt nauseous, but I couldn't stop looking at the proof. Every word I read burned like acid on my insides. Turn 6. The confrontation begins. I waited for her to return. She walked in, smiling, carrying groceries, unaware of the storm brewing behind my eyes. I remember the heaviness of the air as I spoke her name, my voice lower than I intended, shaking with something between rage and desperation. We need to talk, I said. She froze, her eyes wide. I could feel the distance between us stretch like a canyon. Every familiar corner of our apartment suddenly seemed foreign, as though I was seeing it for the first time, and it was a place of treachery rather than comfort. 7. The revelation I confronted her with the emails. I watched her face change from confusion to panic, then to resignation. She didn't deny it, not at first. She whispered fragments of excuses about loneliness, misunderstanding, and impulses she couldn't control. Her voice trembled, but the tremor didn't reach her eyes. I wanted to grab her, shake her, demand the truth, yet I was paralyzed by a deeper, raw grief. I realized the person I had loved, the one I thought knew me better than anyone, had chosen someone else. 8. Rage and shock anger surged violently, a heat that made my hands tremble and my chest feel tight. I slammed doors, pacing, my mind screaming, my body trembling. How could she do this? Was it my fault? Was it something I didn't see, didn't provide, didn't fulfill? I wanted answers, but the answers were fragments of betrayal, impossible to piece together into something comforting. My throat tightened, my stomach churned, and tears I didn't want to acknowledge ran freely. 9. The sadness settles. After the initial storm of rage, a heavier, slower sadness took over. It was a quiet ache in my bones, a cold emptiness that made breathing laborious. I sat on the edge of our bed, staring at her abandoned side of the pillow, feeling the weight of every year we had spent together. Memories once warm now felt like knives twisting inside me. I thought about the little things I had ignored, her secret smiles, sudden disappearances, vague stories. I had wanted to believe in stability, in routine, in her, but I had been living an illusion. 10 questions with no answers. I lay awake at night, asking myself questions that had no answers. Was I not enough? Did she never love me? Was everything a lie? My hands fidgeted with the blanket as I tried to sleep, tried to push the images away, tried to remember the trust we once had. I thought of calling someone, a friend, anyone to scream to, but my pride and shame kept me silent. I felt isolated in a world that used to feel familiar, the betrayal turning my home into a maze of ghosts. 11. The attempt at understanding days passed. I tried to understand her motives, combing through her words, seeking clarity. She explained her loneliness, the way life had felt stagnant for her, how she craved excitement and attention. I listened, each word cutting deeper than the last, a knife wrapped in her trembling voice. I wanted to hate her fully, but somewhere inside I still remembered why I had loved her, the sparkle in her eyes, the warmth of her laughter. That memory became both a balm and a curse. 12. Reflection. I began reflecting on myself, on the cracks in our marriage. Had I taken her for granted? Had I been blind to her needs? The truth was bitter. I had contributed in my silence, in my routines, in my assumption that love was static, not requiring constant nurturing. I remembered the nights we laughed, the shared meals, the walks through city streets, and realized that even in happiness, the seeds of neglect had quietly taken root. I felt grief for the love we had lost, and guilt for the part I had played in its decay. 13. The decision. After long nights of thought and painful conversations, I made a choice. I could not ignore what had happened, nor could I pretend it didn't matter. I decided I wanted to try therapy together, to rebuild, if only because there was still something worth saving, even if fragile. But I also braced myself for the possibility that it might not be enough. I couldn't cling to illusions anymore. I needed honesty, raw and unflinching. I had to confront my pain head on. 14. A new path. We began seeing a therapist. Conversations were raw, tears were shed, and apologies were offered, some sincere, some clumsy. Slowly, I started feeling small flickers of hope, tiny sparks that maybe love could exist again. Not the same, perhaps, but transformed, tempered by truth. I realized that betrayal, while devastating, was also a mirror, forcing us to see our own flaws, to question complacency, and to value honesty over comfort. I was learning to navigate this new reality, uncertain but determined. 15. Lessons learned now. As I sit alone in the quiet of our living room, I understand what this experience has taught me. Love is not just warmth or routine, it's vigilance, empathy, and courage. Betrayal can break you, or it can awaken a deeper understanding of yourself. I have learned to face discomfort, to confront truth even when it's unbearable, and to recognize that forgiveness does not mean forgetting, but choosing whether to grow together or apart. If I could advise anyone in this position, I'd say, listen to your instincts, honor your feelings, And don't let fear of confrontation rob you of the truth you deserve. Life is fragile, love is precious, and honesty, painful as it may be, is the only path to clarity.